Yo, what's up guys? Universal Mastery. So what I do on my channel is I break down the occult sciences to an extremely practical level so that you can use them in your day-to-day life and get real actual results. So what we're going to be talking about in today's video is something that is very important to understand, and it's going to be along the lines of archetypes. Okay, so when you hear, if you've ever read the book The Hero's Journey, or if you've ever studied a little bit of Carl Jung, then you should have a somewhat of a foundation of understanding what archetypes are. Or if you study the occult, then you're gonna know what archetypes are, because this is it's a foundational part of life in the process of growth. So specifically, the archetype that we're going to be talking about today is going to be the Joker. Stay tuned. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is definitely go and check out my Patreon. On my Patreon, I have exclusive content. It's going to be 50-50. Half of that content is going to be geared towards actually getting your hands and feet wet when it comes to occult practices, things in the nature of chakra empowerments, things in the nature of spiritual communication. I have a video where I literally break down step by step how to do an invocation, and all of these practices are geared towards attuning yourself to, you could say, different types of energies, so that you can become more open-minded, so that you can increase your psychic senses and overall just become a more, you could say, aware person. Okay, so half of the videos are going to be geared towards that. I just briefly covered a few of them, and then the other half is going to be educational entertainment. So that's going to be a video like this. So obviously this video is offering some of you a lot of value out there, and it's also entertaining to watch. And specifically right now, I am covering the Tree of Life. So I'm going through the tree sphere by sphere, and I'm reading off all the notes that I have written down from each sphere, and I'm dissecting each one so that you have an extremely profound understanding of how the Tree of Life actually works. And then after I run through my notes, what I do is I go through my own personal experience working through that sphere myself. Okay, so there's not really many people that are doing that right now. I personally haven't seen anybody really doing it. Maybe like one person or two people at the most. But I'm not only just giving you a theoretical standpoint, I'm giving you actual experience from these spheres. And for those of you that don't know, the Tree of Life is literally the backbone of the occult. Okay, it's like, you can call it the Kabbalah Tree of Life. Basically, the Tree of Life is the system of spiritual growth, and the Jews, they broke it down to an extremely practical level, from science and gematria and understanding exactly how to tap into the system. And the more that you understand the system of the tree, the more you understand the laws of nature, the more you understand what kind of experiences that you're going to have to go through to literally reach your Godhead, to literally reach liberation and just become your most powerful, empowered self. Okay, so once again, where you're going to find the Patreon is going to be the first link at the very top of the description. You'll see it. You'll see my Patreon right next to the link. So it's that first link at the very top of the description. And in order to gain access to the videos, the exclusive videos that are not going to be on my YouTube and are not on my YouTube channel, you have to at least be a tier 2 member or up. In order to be a tier 2, it literally costs $9.95 a month, and that's a reoccurring payment. But if you do the math, that's literally less than $1 a day. So if you can't invest less than $1 a day, then I don't know what to tell you. But for those of you that can, it's an extremely low price for the value that's being offered on my Patreon. So other than that, I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to go right into this video. Okay, so today we're talking about the Joker archetype, and I personally find this very interesting because this ties into, once again, as I said, this ties into the Carl Jung understanding of archetypes. But not only does it tie into the Carl Jung understanding of what archetypes are, but it also ties in directly. I mean, this is like directly tied into the Tree of Life once again. The overarching system of understanding the laws of nature, understanding the psychology, understanding the emotions, understanding the mental, is literally, I mean, like, I can't even explain to you guys how important it is if you're taking this occult practice serious, or if you're thinking about thinking about becoming, a real occult practitioner. You have to start to learn about the tree of life, okay? And I would recommend anybody studies it and learns about it, because this is the literal system that is behind everything that is psychic, everything that is spiritual. When you understand this system, you can compartmentalize. Oh man, I don't think I said that right. You can place things in your mind and fit it in with how the tree is structured, and you will gain this extreme amount of clarity over what's really going on in your day-to-day life, and you will eventually, once you understand the tree enough, you'll understand where you are in your own spiritual journey. And that is a very powerful thing to understand, because then you see where you are and you see where you're headed. You can expect what's going to come next, and then you can expect what's going to come after that, and you can literally trace your steps to see when you're going to become, you could say, the embodiment of your highest self, and when all the things that you've worked very hard for are going to actually manifest. So once again, because tying it back into the tree, there's 10 different spheres, okay? And once again, I'm breaking each one down on my Patreon, so definitely make sure you go and subscribe to my Patreon if you want to learn about these spheres in depth. Or you can always go on YouTube and get a brief understanding, but I'm breaking it down in depth from personal experience, so I highly recommend my Patreon for that. But from these 10 spheres, there is pathways that connects all the spheres, and you could think of the spheres as being a state of mind. Okay, I want you to imagine these spheres as being a different state of mind. So when you go from one sphere to another, it's a completely different state of mind. Okay, so every sphere is a different state of mind, literally. Like, you have to be very adaptable, and you have to master the art of letting go, because you will identify with one sphere, and then when the next sphere comes, you have to literally change. It's almost like you have to go with the change, and you have to become a different identity. So it's not easy. You have to have a solid understanding of who you are. You have to have a solid understanding of what you're going through, and you have to have a general idea of occult powers and occult forces to really move through this process, you could say, smoothly. But from each of those spheres, what there is there's pathways, okay? And this ties into what the Jews, you could say, really broke down into the Hebrew letters. So each of these pathways is also connected to a Hebrew letter. And the way the Jews did that is they figured out through gematria that these Jewish letters that they connected these pathways to have specific meanings to them, and they have like if you guys don't know about Hebrew, it's like the Hebrew letters are much more in depth and much more aligned with numbers in gematria than our English language. So they specifically chose specific letters to go into each pathway, going all the way up from, you could say, 0 to 21, or you could say 1 to 22. So they specifically chose each letter, and each one of those letters has a significant, you could say, context to it, a significant understanding to it, but you have to really break the letter down. So for example, I'll give you an example, like Aleph. A-L-E-P-H. That's one of the letters, but as you can see, that's a long, that's considered a letter, but it's like it's a whole word within itself. So there's a lot of breaking down that you can do with the Hebrew language. So I'm just throwing that out there. Each one of these paths is attributed to one of these letters. So when you go from one sphere to the next, there is a pathway that is connecting them. That pathway has correlated to it one of those Jewish letters that has a meaning to it, a deep meaning to it. But not only that, that pathway is going to be the experiences. It's going to be you could say, the vices, the virtues, the challenges that you're going to experience going from one state of mind to the next state of mind. So remember, the spheres are different states of mind. Well, the pathway is going to be the experience that is going to take place from going from one sphere to the next sphere, in between that pathway. And remember, each path is labeled with a number, going all the way from 0 to 21 or 1 to 22. But Each one of these pathways is also, and this is tying it all back in, is also correlated to a specific archetype. In other words, it's correlated to a specific tarot card, and that's where you get the archetype from, is from the tarot deck. You could say the Rider's Waite deck. That's a very popular deck, and that deck was specifically created from the Kabbalah tree of life. Okay, so we have the Order of the Golden Dawn, and there's other orders out there that really use this system of the Kabbalah tree of life to be initiated and to teach others how to initiate, but you have to be in that order. I'm doing it right now. I'm giving you an understanding of, you know, what this tree is. So yeah, so each one of these paths has a tarot that is linked to it, has a tarot that is that archetype of that path. So what I'm doing on this video is I'm breaking down the archetype of the tarot, okay? I'm breaking down the archetype of the tarot, and I just wanted to paint a context for you so that you understand what these paths are and that you understand where I'm getting these archetypes from. And I'm also going to tell you where this path lies on the tree. So the Joker archetype is going to lie, the Joker or the Fool archetype, it's going to lie from the very top sphere, the very first sphere from creation, which is called Kether, okay? And it's going to connect down into Chokmah, okay, which stands for wisdom. Okay, Kether to Chokmah. And Kether is crown. Okay, Kether is where you're pulling from source. You're pulling from this divine energy, and you have divine willpower. And then Chokmah is wisdom. It's a masculine energy. It's a wisdom. So yeah, so this pathway connects from Kether to Chokmah, but when you work through the tree, when you actually initiate into this tree and you know, go from sphere to sphere, you're actually going to start from the bottom. You're going to start from Malkuth, and you're going to travel all the pathways up. So essentially, this pathway going from Kether to Chokmah being the path of the Joker, this is the last pathway that you would, this is one of the last pathways, not the last, one of the last pathways that you would take, and then you would go back down to the physical plane. So just to give you guys an understanding, like, you work through the pathways going up the tree, and then the last, you know, you could say one of the last is going from Chokmah to Kether. You work through that path, and then you go back down to Malkuth, and then now you're in the physical plane, and then you hit that last path down there, which would be path 21, and that connects you from Malkuth to Yesod, and all the energy flows down, and everything that you had gained going through the paths, working all the way up, everything you had gained starts to channel down through Yesod, and then it comes through in Malkuth, and you're by that point you're a completely transformed person. So that was kind of strange. Did you guys see that? Like, everything just went out. I need to make sure everything's on. Yeah, that was really strange. That's cool though. Okay, so that's how I know that the energy is building up for sure. Okay, so where am I gonna start? Okay, so we're gonna start with the archetype of the Joker. So I'm gonna read off the notes that I have, and then I'm gonna go into it myself on what I know. Okay, so we're gonna look at it in terms of path 0 going down to 21. Okay. So the Joker archetype is going to essentially be path 0, which is called the threshold of nothingness, the way of the Joker. Okay, the qualities from this archetype, when you embody this archetype, when you work through this pathway, you're literally going to feel this archetype. It's going to become a part of you. So I want to cover this. One thing that Carl Jung, I don't know if he really he obviously doesn't have the biggest understanding of the Kabbalah tree of life, because once again, when you initiate into this tree, you are going to have direct encounters with these archetypes, meaning it's going to be a direct experience where these archetypes literally embody themselves through you. All you're doing is either meditating or you're doing ritual to open these spheres to initiate yourself, and then that archetype energetically will actually start to influence you. And from the spheres as well. And this all correlates to astrology and all things in that nature. There's spirits that are correlated to these spheres. I'm not going into that right now. But these archetypes will literally start to you could say, push themselves on you. So you will take on these attitudes and you will feel these new feelings from these archetypes. Just to throw that out there. Carl Jung kind of makes it seem like, oh, these are the archetypes and you can use them, you can tap into them. And that's very true. But there is a more direct way, and there is a more strategic way to actually work with these archetypes, in my opinion, and that would be through the tree of life, initiating yourself. But once again, that's not everyone knows about the tree of life, and that there's a reason behind that, because it's not a path for anybody. It's a tough journey, that's a fact. But this is the path of reaching your highest self, and that's a fact too. So okay, so going back into it. Okay, so the qualities: potential, leap of faith, fearlessness, uniqueness, new beginnings, freedom, independence, futuristic outlooks, ideas, innocence, naivete, technology, and creativity. So the description: the nameless path, 0, leads from the crown to wisdom. It opens new ways of thinking while stimulating the qualities of innovation, unpredictability, change, and innocence. It is the path of the fool, the joker who survives the challenges of life and his own recklessness by laughing at it all. The number 0 suggests the state of mind one should cultivate on this particular path is an attitude of no fear. Why no fear? Because the joker asserts that there is because the joker asserts that there is nothing, 0, out there anyways. Why worry? Why be afraid if it is all nothingness? Here we find the path of the initiator, the innovator, and the inventor. This is the path of the individual who does things in a unique way. It is the path to freedom. Okay, so then the affirmation of this archetype and of this path would be: no fear, I am open to all possibilities, embracing all that comes my way, knowing that I am safe and free. The psalm would be: happy are they that are upright in way. The astrological aspect is the planet Uranus, and obviously the tarot card attributed to this is the Fool. So here we go, the tarot card. The fool rules the path because only a fool would think of embarking on the indefinable journey from crown to wisdom. But it is because of fools that we enjoy all the spiritual technologies available to us today. The fool is the shapeshifter who can change into any card he or she chooses. That is probably why it is the only major arcana that has survived in the modern playing cards as the Joker or Wild card. Challenges. These are the challenges that you're going to experience when you start to take on this archetype. Okay? So, erotic, unpredictable, unstable, inconsistent, scattered, irresponsible, a rebel without cause, destructive with no solution, foolish, weird, madness, and chaotic. The Hebrew letter, and this correlates back into what I said earlier, the Hebrew letter is Aleph. Aleph is the first of the Hebrew letters, which represents absolute potential. Okay, in Kabbalah, Aleph rules the element of air, the prana, or the Holy Ghost. It is the breath, the potential for all that is. The danger is that of hot air. People who talk and never translate that air into action can resonate here as well. Aleph is said to have all the letters embedded in it. It serves as the master program for the other 21 archetypal energies. In Hebrew, Aleph also means champion, indicating that the Fool is the champion of all of the cards. Okay, so this is the notes of the archetype of the Joker from a Kabbalistic standpoint. Okay, and once again, from my understanding, this is the most effective way to understand these archetypes when you look at it and connect it back to you could say the Kabbalah tree of life. Okay, and just to give you guys a little understanding of the Kabbalah tree of life, this tree of life has been used since Earth was created. So we're talking somewhere around the time when the first human beings existed. Very shortly after they became aware of this system and they started to break these things down. Okay, so this is an extremely old system. It's just wonderful because The Jews broke it down in an extremely practical way so that we can understand it, thus calling it the Kabbalah tree of life. But really, the tree of life was used by the Egyptians, it was used by the Aztecs, it was used by the Mesopotamians, it was used by many different other cultures under many different names. Okay, so now I'm going to share with you a little bit of my experience with this archetype, because to be very clear with you guys, this is actually where I'm at right now. I am literally, and it's funny that I'm making this video because this is literally the type of archetype that I'm embodying right now. I am on that final path, the path of zero, the threshold of nothingness. And I'm going to tell you the things that I experienced. So first of all, going from the path before this one, path 1, transitioning into path 0, huge state of mind shift. So that alone was very, very interesting. So this path, that when the archetypal energy of the Joker started influencing me, I felt a big change. Okay, I felt like a big change within my body. I felt a big change within my mindset. I felt a big change in my energy. Okay, so right off the bat, with the first things that I read off, it says potential, leap of faith, new beginnings, stimulus on things that previously weren't stimulated. These are all things that are correlated to that. Like, I felt just this new beginning. I started going for runs when I usually wasn't running this whole entire year, and I just started incorporating a whole new exercise program into my life. But also, what it did for me, what the archetype of the Joker does, is it takes things that you can almost say attached to, that make you feel comfortable. It takes those things and it reverses them. So it's like it spins them, it spins those things, and it changes your personality, it changes your mindset, and it changes your ideas towards the things that you feel so comfortable with. So for example, what I mean by that is, from my own personal experience, when I was going through okay, so I've been traveling this entire tree. It's been a fucking crazy experience. When I crossed the abyss, when you go into the abyss and to cross, it's like you dissolve. You literally die spiritually. It's an intense process. So while I did that, while I had that experience, I became extremely receptive. I was just filled with negative feminine energy, which it's not a bad thing at all. It's a very powerful, healing, transformative energy. But to our conscious minds, it's not fun. To our conscious minds, it's actually kind of frightening. So I went through that experience, and during that experience, one of the challenges from that experience is becoming too codependent on other people, because you get to a state of like nothing. You feel literally like you don't have an ego. It's a spiritual death. It is literally like wiping the slate clean of all of your ideas, all your beliefs, and you have to recreate or re-understand. That's a better word. Re-understand why you do what you do, and what are you going to do to create what and why. And these are all things that you have to come face to face with and completely understand. But during that process, I became very, as I said, very receptive, and just very listening to other people, and just very oh, okay. I was just so open, and naturally, usually what I am is not that open with people. Usually I have a pretty solid idea of, who I am, what I want, and I know how to get that. And that's naturally, that's naturally who I am. That's naturally what I was. But going through this experience, it really transformed me. It really opened me up, and I just, as I said, I became extremely receptive, and I was listening to people that I normally would not give the time of day, and I learned a lot from it. I was gaining value from everybody. It was like every single person I spoke to was speaking to my soul. And yes, this sounds amazing, it sounds blissful, but it wasn't, because it's uncomfortable, because deep down, I know I have my own ideas, I have my own beliefs, and when you're always opening yourself up to other people's influence, that can sort of affect you, because that's their energy, that's them saying things. And trust me, I came in contact with people that didn't have the best mindsets, that didn't have the best ideas on life, and kind of shared a lot of, you could say a lot of bullshit. But it was a way for me to listen even in that bullshit and just be aware of it, and to, you could say, transmute that energy. So, but during that experience, I went from being very oh, this is what I want, this is how I'm going to get it, to being very open, very receptive on an extreme level. And then when I shifted into this new path, the archetype of the Joker, things changed, where it's like, okay, now, you know, it became, so what I'm saying is when I became very receptive, that actually became comfortable for me. So then I was walking around in my day-to-day life, and I was just, you know, very open, like, I just let the universe take care of what needed to be taken care of. I didn't try to control situations. I just was in the situations. It was like an extreme level of presence. Extreme level of presence. And it was just natural. It's like the more I tried to take control of the situations, the more that life would just shut me down and put me back in that state of being receptive. And that was part of that learning experience. But then, as I said, when I shifted into this pathway, the Archetype of the Joker, things shifted again. Because I got a little bit comfortable with being open with people, a little comfortable with not really exerting too much willpower and just hearing what other people think. But then when I shifted into this path, it's like I kept that same idea of, okay, we are all connected. You know, at the end of the day, we're all connected to this source type of energy. And everything around us is truly, at its core, is truly an illusion. Like all this stuff, all the people around me are playing, you could almost say playing a certain character, or they're playing a certain role, and they have certain beliefs, certain ideas that form their personalities. And people think all this matters so much, and they take it so seriously. When in reality, when you go through that stage of crossing into the abyss and you absorb with source, you see that none of this really matters, okay? And it's a deep thing. You see that this is all an illusion. People try so hard to exist. They try so hard to be something because that gives them a sense of, you know, it makes them feel good, and it gives them a sense of energy. You know, it actually, like, if they didn't have that, then there's a chance that they could amount to nothing. But when you go through that experience, and not everyone can handle that this experience that I'm talking about, but you see that it really all is nothingness. We're all part of the same thing. We are all expressions of the same type of source-like energy, some higher levels than others. So that's why, you know, when you talk about the Joker, you have the understanding of why so serious, because the Joker understands that it's all an illusion. But the thing that the Joker also understands is that he can play in the illusion. So one thing that you also understand is that even though it's all an illusion, even though it's all really nothingness, like we're all connected, it's all like it's all nothing, like to its deepest root, there's still a reason, and this is what you have to come to terms with, this is what you have to dissect. There's still a reason why you're here and why I'm here. I chose to be here for a specific reason, because I'm an intelligent spirit in my own right, and I came here to Earth to do something specifically. So even though it's all nothing, I'm still here for a reason, so I get to fully choose what my, you could say, right and wrongs are that are going to lead me to my purpose, that are going to lead me to the reason of me being here. So I don't view things as good and evil, because there is no set in stone anything that's good and evil. But I can choose what I believe to be right and what I believe to be wrong. And that's based on my own structure of beliefs. I don't give a fuck what someone else's structure is if it doesn't align with what I intuitively feel. If someone's like, you have to believe this because the Bible says this, or because this person said that, fuck off. That's the Joker. That's the Joker in me. It's the energy in me that realizes I'm playing the game, but I'm choosing to play my game in the game. Okay? So this is a little deep. I'm choosing to play out what I believe in the big illusion of everything. And there's this deep sense of why take it so seriously. So I don't have to fully necessarily lock onto things like sink or swim type of level, because I realize that everything like this is an illusion. So when I see somebody else, I don't need to confront them or cause them to want to believe what I believe is right. I don't need to do that, because it's an illusion. Like, all this is nothingness. So what you believe is real, and it's true for you. So why would I spend my time, my energy, and you know, my force to try and convince you that my way is right and my way is better, when in reality, that if that's your way, if that's what you believe in, if that's what you create for yourself, that's your reality. and I don't need to affect that. I understand we're all in this game. We're all in this game together, and some people are playing the game realizing they're in the game, and that's the archetype of the Joker. And other people are in the game and they think it's so real, and they're so dense, and they're so serious, and it stresses them out, and they don't know why things happen the way they happen. They get stuck. But the Joker says, why so serious? And he laughs at everything, because it's true. It's like, at the end of the day, it's like why, like, this world, this reality field that we live in is so malleable, meaning you create what you are and who you want to be. Absolutely. Okay, so another thing that happens when you take on this Joker archetype is that the things that typically and normally make you comfortable become the things that you actually fight against. So you will start to find yourself naturally creating certain levels of chaos for yourself in the areas of your life that you normally felt very comfortable. So let's say you have a certain routine and you're very comfortable with it, meaning, from my experience, I was very nice, like always open, extremely nice to people when I was going through that dissolving process of crossing the abyss. And now that the Joker archetype has started to influence me, I'm now creating a little more chaos when it comes to other people. So like other people will start, they'll ask me things, and like if someone asks me a really stupid question, a big part of me wants to be like, call them out on their bullshit. Like, why the fuck are you asking me this question? Like, do you really think that that's do you really think that's a worthy question to ask me? Like, out of all the questions you could ask me, you're gonna ask that question? And it's just like this natural energy that's flowing through my body. And even when I'm out in public, like, I'm seeing people some people try to pull you into certain ideas, and it's really dumb. It's like a really dumb idea. Like for example, like, I was getting a juice at this juice place, and this lady asked me, she's like, oh, can you check the Wi-Fi? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, can I check the Wi-Fi? And she's like, oh, well, I'm trying to, connect to the Wi-Fi on my phone, and it's not working. Can you check it? And I'm like, okay, so you're saying it's not working, but you want me to check it just to double check for you. And that already is a kind of like a weird thing already. I'm like, okay, so if it's not working on your phone, you want me to try it on my phone and experience it not working for me. Okay, so I mean, I went a little bit deeper into it, so I was like, okay, yeah, let me check to see if the Wi-Fi is working. So I went on my phone, I went to check it, and then I realized, like, it's not working. So I mean, she should have known that because she tried it already. It wasn't working, but I told her, I said, yeah, no, it's not really working. It says it's connected, but I'm not getting the Wi-Fi. And then she goes on to be like, oh yeah, it's, the managers, they don't want to pay for it because, it's extra money, and people want to sit here and they want to be on Wi-Fi. And it's like, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. Why are you so serious? I don't care. Like, why do you care so much? Like, why are you going so far out of your way to make this story in your mind of the manager doesn't want to pay the money, and people want, like, there would be tons of more people that would be in this place if the Wi-Fi was working. Shut the fuck up. That's not true. I guarantee you it had nothing to do with that. I guarantee you it had nothing to do with the manager realizing that the Wi-Fi wasn't working. It probably was something completely different. Okay, it was probably he was unaware, or maybe he was aware that the Wi-Fi that day wasn't going to be working properly. But this lady created this entire story in her mind that was like, oh, these people, the managers, they don't want to pay, so now I can't use the Wi-Fi, and now other people, because I feel this way, other people aren't going to want to be here because they can't use the Wi-Fi. Shut the fuck up. That's not true. And I just kind of told her, I was like, okay. She told me, she explained what what I just explained to you guys. She said all that, and I was just like, okay, cool. Like, okay, yeah. Like, what do you want me to say? And that's very Joker-like. Okay, that's very, like, that's that type of energy of the Joker. You see you can see the bullshit, and and remember, previously, what I would have done is I would have listened to her, and I would have, been a little more intimate, you could say, with her, and I would have probably said something like, hey, do you guys know I might have said something, I might have not, but I would have definitely been a lot more intimate and a lot more understanding in a different way. It's not that I'm not understanding now, it's just that I'm seeing it from a different archetypal perspective, okay? And yeah, so that was just, that's another experience that you're gonna have. You're gonna start to see systems that are positive. You're going to start to see structures that are positive. And the Joker archetype, what it's going to do is it's going to actually inject, it's going to add chaos through you. If you're embodying this archetype, you're going to be the person that adds chaos into these positive systems. And what it does is it corrupts those systems, because there's a lot of positive systems. So like when you work, when you go to, let's say you're 9 to 5, most corporations have a system that they run by. They have certain people that do certain things all the time, every day, and it produces the outcome that they think that they want. So when you come around with the Joker archetype, you inject chaos into those positive systems, which causes the people that are operating in those systems to become confused, because they're like, wait, you're going against the system. Wait, what's going on here? But the Joker doesn't do it just to go against the system. He actually realizes that what he's saying and what he does is, because it's injecting that chaos, it's slowly crumbling that system down, which is either going to completely destroy it and then it will have to be rebuilt after, or it will destroy it in certain areas and then cause the people that are operating in the system to be stronger and build it up stronger. So the Joker is essentially like a trickster. It's a guy or a girl that takes on the energy of testing people to see what they're capable of, and making sure people are stronger. Because you can have a positive system, you can have a great system running for your business, but what if some chaos comes in? And in the world we live in, there will always be certain levels of chaos. So you have this positive system. What if chaos comes in? How are you going to handle it? And are you going to handle it? Or is it going to get to a point where it's so chaotic that it just completely crumbles? And then from that, you're going to have to completely rebuild it in a more foundational, structured way. So the archetype of the Joker is going to be that person that injects chaos in certain situations. The Joker has a natural feeling, a natural influence of actually liking chaos. There's a little bit in him that wants to cause that. So you may be conversating with someone, they say something that you catch that's very interesting, like as if this person is trying to like throw their beliefs on you or inject their beliefs on you, and then you might say something very straightforward to them. You might say something that throws them off, like, oh, you really believe that? That's stupid. And then they'll be like, wait, what? Did you just call me stupid? And you'll be like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I just thought you said this. And then you repeat what they said, and then it mind fucks them, because they're like, holy shit, like, it just injects chaos in their mind. But it causes people to question. I mean, I've embodied this archetype before. Actually, this is a pretty natural archetype for my natural character. I've been this for a good portion of my life. I've always had that kind of adversarial, rebellious kind of Joker attitude. Not to the level where I'm experiencing it now. I'm definitely, since I've been working through the tree and going through the different paths, I'm experiencing it in a much more, you could say, a pure way, a much more confined, understandable way, because I've been studying the tree and I've been actually practicing working through these spheres and going through these pathways. So back then I had like little hints of that Joker archetype within my energy body already, but now that I'm working through the spheres, I'm like, it feels like I am the Joker. And I really see what's going on, in our world. I see that, none of it really matters. It really, at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. Like, we're little tiny creatures, little tiny spirits that are playing, that when we pass on from this life, is what I'm saying, we have a whole nother thing to do. We have a whole nother path to take. We have a whole nother life journey. But that only happens for people that have been working on themselves in this life journey. But when you realize that this is literally like a training ground, like this is like a game that you come here, and I came here, as I said, for a purpose, and I'm here to build an empire, and that's the reason why I came here. So that's what I'm doing, but I'm doing it from the understanding that it's all an illusion, and I get to create and play in that illusion. Just like when you go to watch a movie, that movie isn't real. It's actors. That they're acting certain things to make you feel certain ways. But when you're watching the movie, you're buying into it like it's real, especially if it's a good movie. If it's a good movie, then you're literally watching it from the perspective, the background, knowing it's actors, knowing it's set up, knowing it's fake. But if it's a good movie, you're so into it that while you're watching it, you actually feel like it's real. You feel like it could be happening. That is exactly what it's like to take on the archetype of the Joker, and you get to like move the chess pieces the way you want. So other than that, I think I definitely covered this in extreme amounts of depth. I definitely hope this could offer you value, and I'm definitely 100% sure it did for a good amount of you out there. But other than that, definitely hit the thumbs up, hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Also, come over here, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell, because I'm posting videos as often as I can. And once again, if you want to check out the Patreon, where I have the exclusive videos that are breaking down the Tree of Life, go to the click the description and go to the very first link at the top of the description. That's going to take you to my Patreon. Okay, and I want to give a special shout out to the top tier members of the Patreon. Their names are going to be mentioned right below that link. As you go up in tiers, there's different benefits. I'm going to let you check that out for yourself. Then go to the second link below. You can place an order for a Hecate sigil shirt. What will happen is you'll place your order and they will literally ship it right to your door, just like Amazon Prime. Then go to the third link below. Request to join in the Facebook private group. So you'll click that third link below. That'll take you to the Facebook community. From there, you'll click a private link you'll click a link that says private group here. It's a pinned post. Click that, request to join in the private group, and I'll add you in. What I do on there is I post a little bit of extra content in the form of quotes or in the form of just kind of like what's on my mind. So definitely make sure you check that out. Request to join and I'll add you in. But yeah, other than that, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. I love you guys. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day or night wherever you are, and I will see you on the next video. Peace.